Now, I've talked a little bit about consent, but this is one of the principles that are key as well, is that most jurisdictions now seek some form of explicit consent. Certainly, this was one of the challenges when GDPR was first rolled out. But we are obliged to get consent from individuals before collecting, processing, or sharing their personal information. Um, in some cases, that might not be feasible. So the law says do it as soon after as possible. But what do we mean by consent? So, in most regulations, the definition of consent says it must be specific, and individuals must explicitly consent to each purpose. So it's not good enough to say, when you give me your personal information, here are a list of 20 or 30 things we may do with your information. That's not explicit enough. So we need to say, we are collecting your information for this purpose and related to this purpose. Keep it short and very explicit. Consent must be informed, meaning that we must have told them and told them in a way that they understand. I think there is a lot of research being done now about how much time someone would have to spend reading privacy policies if they genuinely were going to read them the way they are formatted and presented now. And it racked up in the number of days per year. So people obviously are not going to be wading through very complex, dense privacy policies, meaning that they might not be informed. Again, raising the risk of breaching the transparency principle. Consent must be freely given, so we're not coercing somebody, and we have to demonstrate that we've obtained that valid consent. And in many jurisdictions, again, consent can be withdrawn at any time. So, questions to ask. Do we have consent for this use? Kind of a critical one. How was that obtained? And how do we limit use only to that permitted? And the last one, which again I would encourage you to think carefully about as you are designing your solutions, is if someone were to withdraw consent for the use it was collected, how would you then remove their information from the platform or product that you're building? Because that's what we're really talking about. When someone says, "Well, I don't want you to use my information for direct marketing anymore," making sure that we have a process in place to remove that person from that direct marketing from that point forward. So that's point number 6: consent, making sure that we have actually obtained a legitimate consent for the use we're about to apply the data.